in their circulation. Think about it. So when I have a lot of water here, I'm diluting the solute. This is beautiful, guys, because in your program, fluid and electrolyte balance is a big deal. Fluid and electrolyte balance is a big deal, which means you have to know the level of the electrolytes. Any derangement in the electrolytes can result to a problem. And any derangement in fluid amount can also result to a problem. Okay? Because if I'm drinking too much free fluid, I'm overloading my circulation. Alright? I'm dissolving my solutes to the extent that I'm probably going to have low solutes. Low solutes. Which means I'm diluting my solutes. I'm not having enough potassium, not having enough calcium, not having enough sodium, not having enough iron. Man, it's like the body is almost screwed. Right? Because potassium is important for heart functioning. Calcium is important for heart functioning. Sodium is important. All of those, so many things that all those electrolytes are doing in the body. But if I have less of them, the body is going to fail, literally. The heart can stop, literally. Hypokalemia can cause the heart to go into arrhythmias, and too much of, excessive arrhythmia can literally stop the heart. Does that make sense? So that is why electrolyte balance is very important. We talked about how they came up with Gatorade, right? You guys still remember? Because those athletes, they were playing so many things, and they were giving them just free fluid, and they found out the muscle don't have the strength to actually do all those until they realize that, come on, man, these guys are losing fluid and some electrolytes. Let's just replace what they are losing. Keep them up. That is why a lot of us, what do we drink these days? Sports drinks, right? Particularly when we stress, when we exercise and all that. Because we are replacing what is it that we have lost. Okay? All right. Again, let's go back. Anything that is going to cause less of solutes in the blood vessel is going to cause shift of fluid into the tissue. You all agree with that, right? So which means, and the most abundant solutes here, most abundant, there are a lot of solutes, sodium, iron, all those. But the most abundant one is the protein one, which is the albumin. So anything that is going to cause less of albumin is going to cause water to move from the blood vessel into the tissue. What about anything that is going to disrupt the flow of the fluid? Because the heart is the pump, pumping fluid around. Okay, the kidney also helping us to maintain normal water, all right, by the help of aldosterone. We'll talk about it, right? So what about if the kidney is failing? It cannot get rid of the fluid. There is fluid backup in the body. What about if the heart is failing? It cannot pass on the fluid. What is going to happen? We're going to have a lot of fluid in. We're going to have a lot of fluid in the vessels. A lot of fluid. A lot of fluid. Why? Because something is disturbing the flow. This is the flow. Okay, it should be flowing out. Okay, to the heart. So let's say the heart is right here. Okay, it gets here, connects to the heart. Okay, through the big vein. The big vein of the body. The biggest vein of the body is what? The biggest vein of the body. Vena cava. Okay, but this is the pump, because it's like I'm a link. Okay, you give me something, I pass it on. But if I'm the weakest link, you kept giving it to me. What is going to keep going on? Kept falling. I'm not able to pass it on, which means I'm going to have what? Backlog here. Because of the backlog here, everybody's going to feel what? The ripple effect. What is this that we have to pull? What do they call this? The tug of war, right? So what about if on this side we are not pulling, and the other side can pull? They just pull every one of us. If we don't let go of the rope, what's going to happen? We're going to fall what? Yeah, on top of each other, right? There's a ripple effect because we don't have the power to pull. The same thing with the heart. If the heart is failing, the blood comes to the heart, it's sent to the lungs to get oxygenated. It comes right from the lungs to the heart, then it pushes it out of the body. But if the heart is weak, fluid is going to back up here, right? If the heart is failed, as a result, so much of fluid here. Anything that can obstruct the continuous flowing of fluid can cause fluid to back up in the blood vessels. Too much of fluid in the blood vessels, where is the fluid going to move into? Into the muscles. Because according to one of our definitions of osmosis, water moves from where we have it more to what?
Where we have it less.
Exactly. So we're having a lot of fluid here right now. You're going to keep backing up in there. So that is why heart failure can cause edema, pitting edema, generalized edema. Kidney failure can cause that too. Same thing with the liver. Okay? Does that make sense? So that is why when you see a patient that has heart failure, a patient with heart failure, do they always lie down on their back just, what's up, you good and all that? No! What is the position that you put them? You elevate like a 45 degrees. Why? Because the heart is failing, cannot move things around, so you got to help them a little bit so that gravity can help pushing things around.
You can literally feel
The water in the lungs, right? Yeah, when they breathe.
It's very important.
sounds like a
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're fluid.
It doesn't that sound, that's what actually is happening. They are drowning themselves.
Absolutely.
Because, see, it's the mechanism. Okay, if you have at home, if your toilet is clogged, very good example. What happened? You flush, it's running out. Oh man, what's going on? Because the toilet is clogged. Why? When you pull down the lever, the water moves in, it should be what? Flow out, right? But it's clogged. All right? Maybe somebody ate a big steak and all that. The physics is so hard. It's on the water can't just say, man, you forgot how much of your time you spend at that restaurant. Man, you gotta give me some time, give me some time to move. The physics is saying that the water cannot push it. It's stopped. So when you flush it, the water flooded up. It's the same thing. So if you're not careful, the whole place can be flooded with water. Why? Because the flow is obstructed. So anything that obstructs the flow of fluid in the circulation can cause fluid to be so much in the blood vessels. The fluid is going to move into the tissue, causes edema. That is why a patient with a kidney problem, because the kidney should be getting rid of excess fluid, excess toxins and all that, but that's not happening. It's failed. It's backing up into the body. So as a result, they're going to have elevated toxins in their body. What is it that we have to do to get rid of those toxins?
Diuretics.
We can give diuretics, but if it gets to a point,
it's not
working, what is it that we have to do?
No.
During water?
No.
Dialysis. Yeah, dialysis. Because right now, everything is failed. We just have to manually go in and suck in everything out, clean the fluid and all that. Okay. Now, guys, the reason, you remember I told you, I'm the bed in which everybody, you guys are lying up. So I'm just laying myself very well so that you all can lie on me. So that so that by the time you guys get into pharmacology or med-surg, principal care, because again, as I told you, I'm stuck and you guys pray all through your life if you are in medical field. Oh well, come on, Jeffrey, I'm stuck right there.
I ain't gotta take none of that. So
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't have to take none of that pharmacology and all that. So
Okay, hold on. Sports medicine. There is no way you're not going to refer to anatomy and physiology.
oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because anytime they're saying, okay, the bones of the joints, what do you think is going to flash through your mind? Means going to be, yeah, I remember. You understand what I'm saying? So that is why I'm laying my bed very well, so that you all can have the solid understanding.
California King.
Huh?
California King.
Oh, California King, what is that?
It's a mattress.
It's a mattress, oh, okay.
It's a mattress.
It's the biggest
Very
mattress.
nice.
It's the biggest mattress.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
California
It's
King.
much better than the Tempur-Pedic?
No, it's the size.
the
Oh, the size. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So much bigger than the king size?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Bit like
That's
7
bigger
people.
because that's like 18 or something.
It's like a twin. That's what I'm saying.
You want some bigger for what?
No.
We have a king, so I was in a California king.
All right. So you guys understand what I'm saying?
So listen, is kidney failure reversible?
It depends.
Like,
It
once your
depends.
dialysis is over, right? Or you have to just get
No, it's not over. It's not over. Sometimes kidney can have like a surge of injury to it. I mean, kidney can have a surge of injury to it, in which it's almost like it's going to go into failure, or a prompt, quick, can reverse it. It doesn't mean that when the patient is on dialysis, that's the end. It doesn't mean. It doesn't mean. It depends on what type of injury or how bad the injury. Okay?
Like if they keep on putting it off and putting it out and getting checked, and they might be able to hit it early. So if
Right.
they hit it early and get a few treatments of that,
Mhm.
it should fix the problem. But most people don't go to the doctor anymore because they don't want to be told that something's wrong. So they'll put it off and they get to a point where it's irreversible. But if they just go in when they start to feel bad,
So it's not 100% that once a patient is on dialysis, that's it. No. Okay? All right. So very good understanding about this. Very good understanding. All right. So the types of protein that we have in the plasma, we've dealt so much about albumin, okay, which contributes to the osmolarity and viscosity. Now, viscosity. Anytime we're talking about viscosity, we're talking about the fluidity of blood, fluidity, or the flow, how easy the blood can flow. Viscosity, okay? All right, viscosity, we are talking about fluidity of blood. Fluidity of blood. All right, so viscosity, all right, how easy blood flows. Blood flows. All right? Remember we said blood is made up of plasma, which is the lipid portion, and the formed elements, right? The formed elements, which is also the solutes, right? The formed elements plus ions plus electrolyte plus so many things, right? Okay. What about, let's say this is the blood vessel. So let's take one of the formed elements, like red blood cells. So let's say we have too many red blood cells. Too many red blood cells. Too many red blood cells. And this is the fluid. Too many red blood cells. Is it going to be easy for the blood to flow easily?
Yes.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, too many red blood cells. Why? It's not going to be easy, right? Because it's going to be too thick. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I just said right now? Too thick. Too thick means it cannot flow easily. Okay? So, this property is what we call viscosity. How easy blood flows, or the thickness of blood, or the thickness of blood, thickness or thinness of blood. Okay? The thickness or the thinness of blood.
Is the thickness of blood clot?
Huh? Can it be a blood clot?
Yeah, like
If there's excess platelets, which means the patient is throwing clot easily, it can disturb the flow. And when it disturbs the flow, so let's say we have a kidney right here. And this blood is going to the kidney. It's going to be delivered to the kidney. Alright? So if it's too thick, which means less blood is going to flow to the kidney. And less blood flowing to the kidney, if maybe the patient has a clot. Too much platelets. Alright? By the way, let's talk about the platelets. Thank you for reminding me that. Alright. Platelets. Platelets. The other name for platelets is thrombocytes. Thrombocytes. Okay? Less platelets, it is Thrombopenia. Thrombopenia. Less platelets. Okay, more platelets, it is thrombocytosis. Thrombocytosis. Less platelets is thrombopenia, more platelets is thrombocytosis. Less platelets is thrombopenia, more platelets is thrombocytosis. So which means if a patient has excess platelets, which means they can throw clot easily. If a patient has less platelets, when they are bleeding, they're not going to be able to stop the bleeding. Everybody with me?
Which one is less?
Yeah, which one?
Thrombopenia is less. Thrombocytosis is more. Okay? So if a patient has high platelets, remember, the formed elements, they are the constituent that we have in the plasma. So high platelet means it's going to retard the flow of the blood. As a result, less blood is going to flow to the kidney. To the kidney. To the kidney. So less blood flowing to the kidney, which means it can cause kidney to have injury. Ischemia, which can destroy the kidney from functioning. That may lead to kidney failure if we don't do something. Okay? Too much red blood cells can also cause the flow to slow down. Right? Too much red blood cells is what we call polycythemia. Okay? High red blood cells. Okay? High red blood cells is what we call polycythemia. Polycythemia. Okay? We're still talking about that. Right? Polycythemia. And that can also stop the flow of the blood. Once again, when we're talking about viscosity, we're talking about how easy the blood can flow. The thickness of the blood or the thinness of the blood. If a patient has anemia, which is what? Anemia is what?
Low iron.
Low what? Low red blood cells. So which means they're going to be able to deliver oxygen to the tissue. So the blood is just going to be more thin. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So that's albumins. All right, globulins. We'll talk about that. It's the same thing as our good old antibodies, which are formed from what? All right, guys, give it to me quick. Let's just move on with this. Globulins, antibodies, which are formed from what? Antibodies, huh? White blood cell. Specifically, what type of white blood cells? The B cells. The B cells. Good. Okay. So we have different types: alpha, beta, gamma. Okay. So provide immune systems. Fibrinogen. That's the fibrin that helps with blood clots. We're talking about different proteins right now. Okay. So the plasma proteins, they are formed by what? By the liver. That's why when a patient has a liver failure, the patient can be predisposed to edema. Can be predisposed to edema. If you don't mind to enjoy this fine a little bit. Sorry, Eric. Okay. All right. So all the plasma proteins are produced by the liver, except the globulins, because the globulins are produced by what? And plasma cell is from what? Yeah, from the blood. Yeah, what aspect of the blood? White blood cells. What aspect of the white blood cells? What aspect of the white blood cells? Which of the white blood cells produces plasma? The B cells. The B cells. Yeah, the B cells. Okay, everybody clear with me? All right. Another products that we have in the plasma. You just notice that I'm kind of a little bit slow in this. Why? Because every one of us, we're going to have to do something with, we're going to get a patient that we have to either do something with regarding blood with. Because I think CBC is one of the commonest investigations that we do. You don't have to have anything to do a CBC on you. We can do what we call a baseline investigation. Baseline investigation means you come into the hospital, do you know feel anything? Let's just see what is the base, or what is the thing that is going on right now, so that we will be able to make a reference to, just in case. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is why we have to know about blood. It's very important. There's always blood drive, donate blood and all that. Always something going on about blood, right? All right. So the plasma, the other thing that we have in the plasma is what we call nitrogenous compounds. Nitrogenous compounds are derived from proteins. They are derived from proteins. Proteins or tissue breakdown. Those are nitrogenous compounds. Now, when we eat protein, there is a waste that is produced. When a tissue is broken down, there is a waste that is produced. All right? So we call this waste, we call it nitrogenous waste. Or we term it urea. It's called urea. All right? Here's another thing. With urea, the body always takes it out through the kidney because it's a waste product. So it's toxic, it's a waste product. So normally removed by the kidneys. Normally removed by the kidneys. All right, on table 18.2, so that we can see some of the nitrogenous waste, not just urea alone. On table 18.2.
673 in our book.
Okay. Some of the nitrogenous waste are urea, uric acid, creatinine, creatine, ammonia, bilirubin. Those are waste that comes from breaking down of proteins. Because nitrogenous compounds, they are proteins. Am I making sense? Okay. All right. Watch this right now. And a lot of these are removed by the kidney. Urea, uric acid, creatinine from the breakdown of muscles. Okay? The nitrogen that we have there in the proteins eventually is going to be converted to a waste product of ammonia. Right? Okay? Majorly by the hemoglobin. I think that's just the main thing about that. That's the hemoglobin. You can see the hemoglobin. Alright? So we got the heme groups. The heme group is the non-protein. That is one that we're going to be converted to biliverdin, then to bilirubin. Okay? So red blood cell counts and all that, we'll talk about that also. Alright, the values are lower in women. We already know that. Okay? Why they are lower. Alright? Erythropoiesis, we're making red blood cells production. Okay? The average lifespan is 120 days. The development takes about 3 to 5 days. That is why when a patient is severely anemic, when we give a pint of blood is 500 ml. A pint of blood, okay, equals 500 ml. And it only raises hemoglobin level by 3. So let's say hemoglobin level is 10. And we'll give a pint of blood. It only raises what? By 3 grams. So it's going to be 13. Okay? Raises it by 3 grams. Okay? Alright. So that's iron. How iron is absorbed? Iron is absorbed. We've talked about that. Okay? Iron is very important. Right? We lose it daily in urine, feces, and bleeding. In men only needs 0.9 milligrams per day of iron. Why women needs more? We already know why. Okay? We already know why. Right? So all of those. Vitamin B12 and folic acid is also important for what? For erythropoiesis. Vitamin C and copper also important for what? Erythropoiesis, making hemoglobin. Very important. All right? How the hemoglobin are produced is under the negative feedback. It's under the negative feedback. Okay? The main hormones that helps with production of erythrocyte is what? We talked about it yesterday. We said 15% are produced by somewhere, another 85% are produced somewhere. 15%.
What is the question?
50% of erythropoietin is produced by erythropoietin. I think it must be either the liver or the bones. 85% is produced by the kidney. All right? Erythropoietin. Somebody help me check it out. Poietin. Okay? Kidney produces 85% of it. No, the arrow should go up. So in kidney, 85% of erythropoietin.
Oh, kidney.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise 50% liver, 85% kidney.
Correct. So liver is 15%. So the erythropoietin go ahead and stimulate what? Bone marrow. Stimulates bone marrow. BL. Not bowel movement. Let me write it out. Let me write it out. Bone marrow.
And the bone marrow stimulates the red blood cells.
Okay, bone marrow. And bone marrow produces what?
Red blood cells.
Formed elements. And part of the formed elements is red blood cells. You're right. You're right. Okay? But this time around we're dealing with red blood cells. Okay? No, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Because we're dealing with erythrocyte. So erythropoietin is only dealing with red blood cells. You're right. Thank you. Okay? All right, red blood cells. Erythropoietin, 85% from kidney, 50% from liver, stimulates bone marrow to produce red blood cells. So if a patient has renal problem or kidney failure, that is why they're going to have anemia. Okay, with the anemia, how we can treat is, we can, depending on how severe, we can transfuse, or we can also give artificially made erythropoietin. Okay, we call this hypogen. Hypogen. Artificially made erythropoietin, hypogen. You can give it to the patient. Okay, hypogen. All right, as a result, now we have it artificially. It's going to stimulate the bone marrow, cause red blood cells production. Okay. All right. There are a couple of factors that can cause stimulation of erythropoietin. This is the hormone. Okay, a couple of factors. Number one, when there is low level of oxygen, that we call hypoxemia. High altitude, increase in exercise, loss of lung tissues in emphysema. Emphysema is abnormally dilated. No, not abnormally dilated. Permanent dilation of the bronchus, yes, right. Permanent dilation of the bronchus. Okay? Any of this can cause erythropoietin to be stimulated. People that live in Colorado or high hill area, their levels of red blood cells is much more higher than ours. Why? Number one, the higher you go up, the less is the oxygen. In high altitude, the less is the oxygen. That is why those mountain climbers, okay, that is the way that they usually go up gradually, and I think for each of those, there is oxygen tanks or something like that.
You either carry your own
or carry your own
or
oxygen.
they have stations.
Right, or stations.
Whatnot. Or they tell you just drink water.
You can just drink water.
Because I went on a ski trip and we had trouble breathing.
Say that
They were
again.
like, just drink water.
But if you drink water, that's what they told you, yes. Yeah, because
I would think we could climb a mountain.
I think it depends on how high the mountain. If it's terribly too high, because drinking water cannot actually, I don't think it can, maybe it may, I don't know. But But I know. Maybe one of the reasons that I said drinking too much water, probably the thing that you guys are having too much of polycythemia, viscosity is so high, drink more fluid so that it can help with movements. Because if you're climbing so high that way, the oxygen level is low, you gotta get oxygen, you need the oxygen, or get to the stations. Okay? Yeah. I'm not too sure. I think they said in Colorado some of the public transport has oxygen in them. I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
They do. You've been there, right? Cool. They do. So they have oxygen because of the high hill area.
I would think so.
Yeah. So they have oxygen. All right? So high altitudes can stimulate erythropoietin because the body senses that, man, there is no oxygen. So we need to push out more red blood cells to tap a little bit of whatever oxygen is available. Okay? That is why people that live in high altitude area, they are prone to polycythemia, which is increased red blood cells, high levels of red blood cells. And high level of red blood cells can lead to high viscosity, which means can cause things to slow down, okay, the flow, all right? All of those can cause them, all right? So this is just giving us the diagram. It works through a negative feedback, okay? So when there is low level of oxygen, it's going to be sensed by liver and kidneys. They're going to produce what? Erythropoietin. The erythropoietin is going to stimulate the bone marrow. Then it's going to cause more red blood cells to produce, so that more red blood cells are available to carry oxygen. Okay? They are available to carry oxygen, which is very, very important. Okay? All right, so we've talked about the ruptures of the red blood cells. All right? So we said the aim to biliverdin and all that. Okay? So the liver is going to remove the bilirubin to make it water soluble. All right? Now, I told you, I said, the color of the brown physics color is as a result of a form of bilirubin. And that form of bilirubin is what we call urobilinogen. Urobilinogen. Bacteria converts that to urobilinogen, converts the bilirubin to urobilinogen, okay? Which gives the brown physics color. All right? So what I've drawn for you, this is just it. Bless you. Okay? So after 120 days, the liver and the spleen, they're going to help to break it down. The heme and the globin, the heme, liver, the bilirubin, and all that. The iron part of the heme is going to be reused. Okay? All right. Polycythemia, we're going to continue from here. Okay. Yeah, we're going to continue from there on Monday. The thalamus to the upper brain area with the cerebral hemisphere. Yes.
They mess with your liver too.
Huh?
Jaundice mess with your liver, right?
If there is a problem with the liver, that is when we feel the jaundice.
Okay.
So, of course, jaundice can everywhere, can stain everywhere, but the liver is actually where the conjugation process is taking place. I know where you're going. That's the liver. If a patient has hepatitis, which is inflammation of the liver, so the liver capability to be able to turn the bilirubin to water soluble is impaired. So that is why one of the symptoms that we see from a patient that has hepatitis is what? They have jaundice. Because the liver is sick. It cannot help to make this bilirubin to be water soluble so that the body can get rid of it.
Well, I'm talking about in the first, a baby that's just come out and they have jaundice, and they put the baby with jaundice, and then it doesn't go away. They look into they go, I guess, into the stomach, and it could be the liver because that's what happens to animals, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can be the liver. Maybe the liver is not. It's not. Okay. Now, while there is a type of jaundice that we call physiological jaundice, in the sense that the liver, what helps to conjugate to make the water soluble, they are not fully developed.
Oh, okay. Right, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
They're not fully
That's
developed.
what I was trying to go with. Okay.
Okay, so hepatitis is one of it. In the baby, those because it's enzyme that helps to do that. Those enzymes are not fully developed.
Okay.
So what we got to do is we put the patient under the lights,
Right.
because we don't want too much of it to go stain cerebellum, to cause
Right.
connectors.
Right.
Okay, now putting the patient under light is actually where helping to make this bilirubin to break it down naturally so that the body can get, so that it can be peeled out or passed up through the fetus.
What if the baby's like 1 or 2? Can't put them under the light anymore.
What is what?
What if the child's like 1 or 2?
You mean like 1 month?
No, 1 year old.
1 year old. It depends. If it's like 1 year old, I mean, we can still do it. We can still do it because it's just a way to get rid of it. But we have to find out what is the cause of the jaundice first. Okay, but because if it's too much, we might do what we call exchange blood transfusion. That's another way. You pull the blood out, you give another one. Exchange blood transfusion.
I had jaundice when I was 17, and I had to drink a bunch of things.
So, I mean, for a baby like that, we can still put him under the lights. It depends. But again, that's a big baby, so we have to.
What works with me, her daughter is her skin color is all. But
Yeah.
she's like 2. I'm like, why would she have it like 2 when they catch it when she's baby?
But think about it. A 2-year-old baby might not be able to stay under the light, right?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. What do you do now because you can't?
They can treat. They can treat like what she said she drank.
I had to drink magnesium citrate.
Right. So that way it's helping us to cleaning us. They can still do that. Or, I mean, there are a lot of treatment that we can do that is going to help to actually get rid of it. It's just like when a baby is so small, I mean, it's easier for us to put them under the light because they just sleep all the time. But a 2-year-old, it's going to be out.
Yeah, so my cousin baby had to get a liver because her liver wasn't fully developed, so they was wondering what jaundice was giving her. I mean, why the baby we had jaundice that wasn't going away. So when they did a stomach thing,
And they found out the liver had a problem.
yeah, you had her like two months ago. You never in your class.
Oh, the twins?
Amber McCaskey.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But
No, not the twins.
No, the twins. The one
The
before.
first-
Yes, she told me.
That's why jaundice. Yeah, she had jaundice, and it wouldn't go away.
They have to do liver transplant.
Yeah, she already got it. Well, she didn't have it, but yeah, they had to give her a liver transplant because the liver wasn't fully developed.
Or maybe something was wrong with the liver.
Yeah, something was wrong with the liver, so she had to get a liver transplant. But I was asking that question because you kept saying that it was in the muscular, and I'm thinking to myself like,
No, in what?
you were saying something about the muscular.
Yeah, but I said the cerebellum.
The cerebellum, yeah. So
You know, remember that no, the problem is not the cerebellum. It is when there is too much of this bilirubin. It now stain the cerebellum, affects it, makes it bad. Okay, but the problem actually could be if a patient is breaking down too much red blood cells, or even if the liver is not working well.
Right.
So, but the cerebellum thing is a secondary effect of excess bilirubin. Yes.
Can you get jaundice from being an alcoholic?
Yes. Anything that can affect the liver. In fact, one of the common, if I think I'm right, the commonest causes of liver problem here in our country in the United States is alcohol.
Alcohol.
Alcohol. Yeah, alcohol. I mean, remember that there are a lot of us that you drinking doesn't mean that we're drinking excessively, but we're drinking consistently. And the thing about it, the alcohol, liver, when we drink alcohol, we're pushing the liver to an extreme to actually break it down because alcohol is a drug. It's a drug. So you're pushing the liver to the limits to actually break those alcohol down so that the body can get rid of it. So you're stressing the liver. Yeah, alcohol. Okay? So that is why we all should not drink.
No, we should drink. We
got
just need to
strong
put
livers
out
over here.
Okay, what we gotta understand is sometimes the effect doesn't come out maybe like 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. We are over time. Okay, because once those liver cells are damaged, the damaged liver cells, we call it cirrhosis.
Do wine do that too?
Wine, it depends. Because wine has a little bit of alcohol too, right?
Oh Lord.
Does it?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Which is only 2% or 3%, that's what they call it wine, I guess. Yeah. Right. So it's not the content. But I think a pure alcohol has like is it 50-something percent or 60%? 90. It
Depends
depends
on what you're drinking.
Yeah, well, the person is drinking, right?
Depends on what liquor they're having.
Right, so go up to the weight like 90.
That depends on if they're just drinking.
Wow, 90. Hey.
My grandma's favorite one was 170.
So that's just the thing. Over time, it keeps accumulating, then it keeps damaging the liver. And once the liver cells are packed up, cirrhosis. From cirrhosis, it's almost like to liver cancer. Yeah. So liver cancer. I remember in a particular place. I mean, I don't drink. So
You don't drink alcohol?
No, even not even wine. I went to a particular function with a couple of friends. So when I got in there, they already know that I don't drink. So not that they planned it, but you see, we were having like a I think was it Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. It's one of my jobs. So we went to a friend's house. So the friend was already there preparing everything. Okay? So when we got there, so we saw this almost like Gatorade looks like. You know, like a red Gatorade. Like this. Yeah, red Gatorade.
So the punch patch?
Oh. So like red Gatorade. So they put it down. So I was thirsty. I said that must be like juice, like maybe like strawberry fruit punch. Thank you. That's what I thought, like fruit punch. Yeah.
Not just regular.
So I took a little bit. I drank. I was like, so what? This is tasted somehow. I asked one of the people that were. He said, "Are you sure this is fruit punch?" Yeah, it's a fruit punch. But after my brain was just looking somehow, then the person that hosts us, the host, then I asked her, I said, you know, I was so curious because the way it's kind of making my brain feels like, I said, what is this? Oh, he said margarita. I said, seriously? So I had to start pumping in a lot of water into myself. Drinking a lot of water.
What was it?
I think it's margarita, right?
Oh, margarita?
Yeah.
It's margarita. It was like strawberry.
Yeah. So I say it's margarita. So I have to start pumping a lot of water. Oh my goodness.
I like margaritas.
Oh yeah, trust you. All right. So, but again, it is important that we understand that when we do that, we're forcing the liver to kind of break it down, so we're stressing the liver. All right. Okay. At least you cannot drink. You're still 19, so you cannot. So is she too? She's still 20. She cannot drink. I think the legal age for drinking is what?
21.
So you're still 20? 19? No drink. All right. So now that's very important, guys, for us to understand that bilirubin and all that. All right. Now, for us to determine the blood type. There is a type of surface proteins that we call the glycoproteins and glycolipids. You guys remember that we talked about that? The glycoproteins means what? It's a combination of what and what? And proteins. Exactly. Glycolipids, the same thing. All right? So, the varieties of the glycolipids and glycoproteins gives us the blood typing. Right? You know, we have A, B, O, and AB. 4 blood types. That is that. Okay, there is another blood type that we call the rhesus, which is the D. That's why we say a patient might be A negative or B positive. Right? Positivity of the rhesus, which is a type that is got from rhesus monkey. Okay? Alright. So the blood type can determine that by the surface glycoproteins. Alright? Now, how is it that we're able to move gas all through our body? All right, we talked about that. We said gas or the oxygen is by the hemoglobin. It's by the hemoglobin. We don't have what it takes to menstruate, right? It doesn't mean that we don't support women that menstruate. Yes, we do. That's one of my jobs, right? Okay. All right. So the mild, moderate. So when we take the blood samples, we check for the hemoglobin level or the red blood cells. We can do for packed cell volume or hematocrit. We can always calculate hemoglobin from it, right? right? If we get the red blood cells at 32 or 36, red blood cells or packed cell volume as 36%, what is going to be the hemoglobin? Hemoglobin for a 36% of packed cell volume, hemoglobin is going to be 12. You guys still remember that, right? By 3. Yes, divided by 3. Okay? All right? So if it's due to iron, it's iron deficiency anemia. Right? It can also be vitamin C or vitamin B12. Now, vitamin B12, another one is folic acid. I didn't put folic acid. Folic acid. So if folic acid or B12 are deficient, can also lead to anemia. Vitamin C can also lead to anemia. Copper can also lead to anemia. Okay? All right. For vitamin B12, it is absorbed in the stomach. It is absorbed in the stomach. Okay? So this is the lower esophagus. Lower esophagus. Lower esophagus. Okay?
When you get the gastric bypass, that's when you have to have shots.
Whatever disturbs the architecture of the stomach may lead to vitamin B12 deficiency. All right? So in this stomach, there is a factor, there is something that is on the lining. We call that intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor. Now, intrinsic factor helps with vitamin B12 absorption. Okay? So if there is a gastritis means what? Inflammation of the lining of the stomach. Okay? Inflammation of the lining of the stomach. So which means this lining is eroded. And the erosion can lead to loss of intrinsic factor. With the loss of intrinsic factor, we are not able to absorb vitamin B12. As a result, the patient has what? Anemia. Anemia secondary to vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay, so such patient might have to give them shot depending on how bad it is. Weekly, it could be monthly. Okay, B12 deficiency. Everybody clear with this? So the deficiency of intrinsic factor can lead to what? What type of anemia?
What was the question?
The deficiency of intrinsic factor can lead to what?
B12?
B12. B12 anemia. Anemia due to B12. Okay? Anemia due to B12. Alright? Same thing with the folic acid. Alright. So just for us to understand that, that's anemia. Alright? Now, when we look at the red blood cells, this is the shape of a red blood cell. Okay, we call it biconcave. Biconcave. It's like concave structures. We have one concave this way. Here we have another one this way. So they are now linked together by concave. They now form a circle. Form a circle this way. Alright? That's the normal structure. Alright? So we already said the place in the cell where energy is produced is called what? Mitochondria. Right? With the delivery of oxygen to the mitochondria, we're able to make ATP. And what is the full word for ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. Okay? Cells that they don't have mitochondria, they make the ATP through anaerobic. Right? Through anaerobic. So they make that. Now, this red blood cells itself, it doesn't have mitochondria. So that is why they don't live as long as some other cells. They don't have mitochondria. Right? So we said they lack mitochondria. As a result, how they get their own energy is through anaerobic. Alright? They don't have nucleus and DNA. So as a result, they don't make protein. You can still remember that for us to make protein, it starts from the nucleus, right? The making of RNA from DNA, what do we call it? Transcription. What about the making of amino acid from RNA? Translation, right? We still remember that, right? Okay? Because making those proteins also help them. But red blood cells, they don't have that. They cannot. Okay? They cannot. Alright? Now, red blood cells only last for 120 days. 120 days. So let's talk about this now. Only last for 120 days. After 120 days, they die. And the spleen and the liver, they have to help get rid of them. The spleen and the liver has to help get rid of them. Okay? So red blood cells, okay, only last for 120 days. Right? So after 120 days, the red blood cells is going to be, remember, that we said the main thing in the red blood cell that carries the oxygen is what? Hemoglobin. So we have the hemoglobin in them. And hemoglobin, it is a combination of two words. Hem and globin. Hemoglobin. Hem and, what did I write? I said blogging. Wow. Wow. I know it's Thanksgiving years, but we're still in school. Hemoglobin. All right, hem and globin. All right. So what happens is the globin, okay, is gonna be recycled. It's gonna let's put it. It's gonna be split. It's gonna be split into hem and globin. All right. After 120 days, they die. Then the liver and the spleen, all of this, they are helping to get rid of it from circulation. Okay? So the hem and the globin. Now, the globin is going to be recycled because it's a protein, recycled. Now, the hem is going to be converted to what we call biliverdin. Biliverdin. And from biliverdin, it's going to be converted to bilirubin. It's going to make sense right now. Bilirubin. Okay, with bilirubin, it's going to move into the liver. Okay, in the liver, there is a conjugation process. Conjugation process. With conjugation process, it's going to make bilirubin to not be water soluble. Water soluble. Okay, conjugation process is going to makes soluble bilirubin. All right, with soluble bilirubin, we can excrete it out through urine or with feces. Okay, the brown color on the feces is as a result of a form of bilirubin. Okay, it's as a result of a form of bilirubin. So we can now get rid of also the urine. Sometimes when the urine is like a little bit yellowish, it's as a result of a form of bilirubin in the urine. The brown color feces is as a result of a form of bilirubin in the feces. Get rid of it. Okay? Now what happens if we are breaking down hemoglobin faster than the liver can process it to make it water soluble? Which means we're going to have what? High bilirubin. High bilirubin. High bilirubin. We're going to have high bilirubin. All right, let's back up again. If for some reason we have overwhelming infection, there is high breakdown of hemoglobin. So the liver is having a lot to handle, okay, to make it water soluble, which means bilirubin is going to go up. Or if there's overwhelming infection, bilirubin is going to go up. Or if there is a problem with the liver failure, in which it cannot help to conjugate it, to make it soluble bilirubin is going to go up. Okay? As a result, so elevated bilirubin is what we call jaundice. Okay? Elevated bilirubin is going to lead to what? It's what we call jaundice. This is what? Yellowness of the eyes, of the mucus. Okay? Or sometimes, in a light-skinned individual, you can see it and yellow. Okay? Which shows what? There is high levels of bilirubin, more than the body can handle. Now, if it happens in children, in a child, a newly born baby, the high level of bilirubin, because they are toxic, which the body has to get rid of. So they can go ahead and stain the cerebellum. The cerebellum. Okay? So high level of bilirubin can stain cerebellum. And the staining of cerebellum can lead to what we call kernicterus. Kernicterus. Okay, which means now something is wrong with cerebellum. It's not able to do its job. Remember we said one of the main functions of cerebellum is what?
Coordination.
Huh?
Coordination.
Coordination, right? Of what?
Muscular.
Of muscle system. So which means this patient, they cannot coordinate muscle. So it may lead to what? Cerebral palsy. Or it may lead to, let's just call it, may lead to pulse paralysis. Because muscles cannot be well coordinated. Because remember that all of those neurons that come, all those ascending neurons, okay, except the one of the muscles, they have to go through into the cerebellum before they go into. Okay, so how is blood produced? We've talked about it that bone marrow is the main place of blood production. It's the main place of blood production. Okay, particularly the formed elements. Now, an adult produces about 400 billions of platelets, 100 to 200 billions of red blood cells, and 10 billion white blood cells every day. Every day, of course. Their lifespans sometimes get damaged for some reason. Okay? So, hemopoiesis, it is the term that we give to the production of red blood cells. I mean, the production of formed elements. Formed elements. Production of formed elements is what we call hemopoiesis. All right? The tissues that produces these formed elements are called hemopoietic tissues. Hemopoietic tissues. Okay? Now, a child, a baby in the womb, in the fetus, there is a place in the fetus that we call the yolk sac. Yolk sac, it is the first place that blood cells are produced from in the fetus. There is a place that we call yolk sac in the fetus. Okay? And eventually, what's they are using to produce that, this stem cells is going to go and colonize the bone marrow, the fetal bone marrow, the liver, the spleen, and the thymus. Okay? But once the baby is born, the liver is going to stop. It's going to stop. Okay? White spleen is still remain with lymphocyte production. Okay? Let's back up again. Hemopoiesis, it is a term that I use for formed elements, production of formed elements. The tissues that are forming the formed elements are called hemopoietic tissues. The yolk sacs, they produce what is necessary. There is the first place of blood production in the sense that they are producing the stem cells that are needed. These stem cells, they're going to go into the bone marrow, the liver, spleen, and the thymus. Okay? Once the baby is born, liver is going to stop producing cells. So in a fetus, bone marrow, liver, spleen, and thymus. So bone marrow, liver, spleen, thymus. Okay, these are the sites of formed elements production in a fetus. Okay, in a fetus. Right? So once this child is born, the only place, once the child is born, liver is going to stop. But the spleen is still involved. Okay? The spleen is still involved. The spleen, bone marrow, and the thymus, they're still involved, as we're going to see. Alright? So the red marrow, as we already know, it is the site of all of the formed elements, the major sites of all of the elements, particularly as we are all growing up. Particularly, let's put it particularly after birth. Okay? Alright? All of the 7 formed elements, which we already know. Alright? You guys go with me that we already know all the 7 formed elements? Okay. Alright, erythrocyte, as we said, it is the main thing that helps to carry oxygen. Carry oxygen also, to some extent, picks up carbon dioxide, erythrocyte. Okay? We said it's like a house. What do we have inside the house? I said erythrocyte is like a house. We have something inside the house. Hemoglobin. Okay? When a patient has insufficient red blood cells, it can lead to death if we don't do something within minutes, which means it depends on how severe it is. Alright? And insufficient red blood cells is what we call anemia, right? Low red blood cells, anemia. Alright? So an anemia, we can classify anemia based on, we can say a patient has anemia because there is problem with production of hemoglobin. So problem with production. Okay. Secondly, can be hemorrhage. Okay, problem with production, hemorrhage. That is the third one. I don't remember the third one. All right. But the problem with production, which means if this patient doesn't have all of the components, all of the elements that are necessary to make hemoglobin, which means he doesn't have iron, he's not eating very well, and all of, no vitamin C, no folic acid, all of those can be a source of problem with producing red blood cells. Okay? Everybody clear with that? That is why when a woman is pregnant, we often give what? What do we give to a woman that is pregnant? No, generally we call it what? Prenatal vitamins, right? Because prenatal vitamins has the folic acid, iron, B12 and all that. Okay? So which is very, very important. Okay? Alright, the other one is due to breakdown, excessive breakdown of red blood cells. Breakdown of red blood cells. Okay? So problem with production. Hemorrhage, which means the patient has a bleeding, is losing out. Like following motor vehicle accidents, can lead to anemia. Breakdown of red blood cells, maybe infection. Okay, this patient has overwhelming infection, they're just breaking down. Or maybe even the membrane of the red blood cells, there is a problem with maintaining the integrity of it. Okay, and they just start breaking down. Right? Or maybe there is a problem with whatever it is in the constituent of the red blood cells. Okay, they just start lysing. They are lysing out or they're breaking down. Okay? Alright. Something worth making the hemoglobin problem with production. There are certain elements that are important. We've mentioned some of them. Iron is important. Vitamin C is important. Vitamin B12 is important. Okay? Copper is also important. Iron, vitamin C, B12, copper, they are important in making red blood cells. Alright? So anemia that is secondary to lack of iron, we call that iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia. Okay? Because the red blood cell, which is the house, so we have the hemoglobin, which is right there. Okay? So for the hemoglobin to be able to carry the iron, to be able to carry oxygen, iron has to bind to it. It has to bind Fe. So there's actually the Fe that oxygen binds to. Then the hemoglobin is able to carry the oxygen. So without iron, they cannot do that. So iron is important to a total structure of hemoglobin. Right? So when iron is deficient, we call that iron deficiency anemia. Right? Iron deficiency anemia. All right, and anemia are classified on what we call mild anemia. Can somebody please Google it for me? The numbers. Mild, moderate, and severe of anemia. Types of levels of anemia, like mild, moderate, and severe. Okay, I know if one is between maybe less than 10 is mild, between 8 to 9, I think less than 7 grams per DL.
For men, anemia is typically defined as hemoglobin level less than 13.5.
Okay, mild is less than 13.5, right? Okay, less than
men.
In men, right? Okay, less than 13.5, all right?
And for women, it's 12.
Okay. What about for moderates? For moderate anemia?
I have to get B12 shots every week.
Okay. Right. Okay. Because they found out that the deficiency is as a result of B12. What about for moderate anemia? What is the level? Moderate is 8.0 to 9.5. Severe, so 8.0 to 9.5. Severe is going to be what? Less than 8, I think.
Yeah.
Or less than 8 or less than 7, right? Is it less than 8, right? Okay. Check for the mild. Mild again. I think.
9.5.
Yeah, mild is 9.5 to 13.5. Yes. So not just less than 13.5. 9.5 to 13.5. Remember, this will be for a man. For a woman, it's going to be at least 12. Okay? Does that make sense? Because in a woman, there's much less than a man. Because I don't have to gym pads every month. Which is good, right? So somebody's not going to like that. Somebody said, how come a man it is not menstruating too? Well, because let's concentrate on this right now, the urea. And also we're going to concentrate on creatinine. Normally, urea is being removed by the kidney. Normally. So urea is being removed by the kidney. So also is creatinine. Okay? Creatinine. Alright? So they are being removed by what? By the kidney. So if we know that these are being removed by the kidney, they are being removed. Listen to me carefully right now. The urea and creatinine, they are being removed by the kidney. Can we use this to test the kidney function? Yes. Yes. So there is a test that we call blood urea nitrogen, BUN. Blood urea nitrogen. And also a test that we call creatinine clearance. Creatinine clearance. So which means we can measure the amount of creatinine in the urine. We can measure the amount of urea in the urine. Or we can also measure the amount of creatinine in the blood, the amount of creatinine, the amount of urea in the blood. So it can tell us if our kidney is functioning very well. Alright? So the creatinine clearance, usually done, we give a patient a big bottle. We say, please do not pee anywhere, just pee in this bottle for the next 24 hours. We collect the urine, we take it to the lab, then we find how much of creatinine is there. Okay? Or we can take a blood sample. We look at what is the amount of urine in the blood. Blood urea nitrogen. According to your paper, what is the normal level? Or maybe the book. 10 to what? 10 to 20. 10 to 20. So if a patient is having like 30, 40, something is wrong, right? So what's going to be, automatically, what's going to come to our mind? The kidney might be not be functioning very well because they are not getting any of it. It should be removing it. Okay? So the BUN and creatinine clearance, we can use that to assess kidney function. Okay, to assess kidney function, which is very important. Okay? Very important. All right, the other thing that we have in the plasma, nutrients, the glucose, vitamins, fats, cholesterol, and all that, dissolved oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, electrolytes. Sodium is the major electrolytes in the cell. Remember, extracellular fluid, which means fluid outside of the cell, the plasma, the blood vessels, fluid in the tissues, fluid outside of the cell, that's extracellular fluid. All right, the main cation or the main electrolytes in the extracellular fluid is sodium. It's sodium. It is sodium. So that is why if a patient is losing blood or hemorrhage, until we get a blood to replace, we can give the patient what we call isotonic fluid. When we say isotonic, what does that mean? What does that say? Isotonic? Huh? Equal in constituent to the norm, to the body. Equal in constituent to the body. Oh, this feels good. This is yeah, it feels good. This time. He's not blowing on you, he's blowing on me. All right. So it is of normal constituent to the body. So which means to keep the blood vessel open, we can give isotonic fluid. An example of isotonic fluid is our good old what? 0.9% normal saline. Okay? 0.9% normal saline. All right, everybody clear with me? All right, very important. So that's electrolytes. Okay, so we've talked about viscosity. So we're just gonna move past this. All right. All right. We've also talked about osmolarity also. Okay. Because you guys are professors of osmolarity, right? And you can tell if a patient why a patient is having edema, right? Yeah, you can tell. You can tell. Maybe is this patient having heart failure? Is this patient having kidney failure and all that? Okay. All right. So starvation of plasma protein deficiency, we'll talk about it, which means if a patient is deficient in plasma proteins, we call that hypoproteinemia. Starvation, kidney disease, burns can also cause it also, because in burns patients they lose a lot of proteins. An example of disease is what we call kwashiorkor. You guys see the picture in page, in figure 18.3? Figure 18.3.
Have their bellies again.
Right. Okay. Some of those African children, you can see that what is going on is there is less protein because of starvation. So they don't have proteins to actually pull. You see that abdomen that is pushed out, that is fluid in there, that's fluid. They don't have protein to actually keep the fluid in the circulation, okay, just like we were explained, all right? So kwashiorkor is the children that has a severe protein deficiency. What is it that they feel so much on cereals, not so much of proteins, no protein diet, okay? They have thin hands and legs, swollen abdomen, all right? Oh, all right, let's take a break.
Have you heard about